Hello everyone and welcome to this new NFL Head Coach '09 series here on the channel. As you can see, I'm going to try and build a dynasty running the wing T as we are going to be the Detroit Lions. Something, I talked about to end out the series with the Cleveland Browns was like, I want to do the wing T just to try something new, something of a challenge, and was really thinking, at first the team was going to be the Bills. And then I was like, no, let's not do the Bills. Let's go to the NFC. So then I was going to go with the San Francisco 49ers, but I wanted this to be a challenge. Because our last series, if you're a fan of that series, was Cleveland Browns. Wanted to take them to the Super Bowl and get them a win. Only took 1 year. It was not a long series at all. So at least to change it up here, a dynasty. That's going to be the big thing. A dynasty. Not just winning it once, but can I win it multiple times? Can I do it using the wing T? A playbook that has 68 plays in it. Should be pretty interesting to see if I can do that. Our defense is going to be the 3-3-5 there, which is actually pretty good. It's pretty well balanced. It's got 75 plays in it. Should be pretty fun. So just the wing T as a whole. The wing T, the last time the wing T was used in the NFL was 1978. It was the Kansas City Chiefs. At that time, they were, at the time of this series here in 2008, the NFL head coach 09 obviously goes into the 08-09 season. They would be the third most rushing yards in the season team. Now with the Baltimore Ravens, the 2019 and 2020 Baltimore Ravens, they're now puts that Kansas City Chiefs team fifth, because those two teams were first and fourth all time. They averaged 4.5 rushing yards per game, was 24 yards shy of 3,000 yards as a whole, and they had 19 touchdowns on the year, which, considering the top 10 rushing teams of all time have like 20 plus touchdowns, it's not great, and they averaged, 186 yards per game. With all that being said, stats-wise, how did the wing T go for him? You could say, maybe successfully until you look at their record. 4-12. Averaged 15 points a game and allowed 20 points a game, so it really wasn't as successful as at the grand scheme of things. If you're thinking of the ground game, obviously it helps when your defense is, playing lights out, and the defense was not playing lights out at all, which also their quarterback fucking sucked too. Sorry, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. The 1978 Chiefs starting quarterback, he had like 9 picks in the whole season. I think he only had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. It was bad. It was really bad. Which is just hilarious thinking of the number 1 and number 2 teams at this time in 2008, which that would be the 78 Patriots and the 73 Bills, which O.J. Simpson's Bills teams, that only played 14 games compared to the 16 games. But those two teams, they went 11-5, and then the 73 Bills went 9-5. So it just kind of shows you that maybe there is success if you run the ball a lot. But just wanted to change it up. The last team, it was run and shoot. It was really throwing the ball at Derek Anderson a lot. Now with this, and also too, picking the Detroit Lions to have it be a run-focused team, because obviously the most, the fucking best guy on the team, Calvin Johnson. How's it going to be used? It's going to be like he's back in Georgia Tech. It's just like, great. I left Georgia Tech, get drafted to the Lions. Now I'm stuck with a run fucking based offense. But we'll at least, figure out some passing plays at least. We're not going to completely get rid of Calvin. But we want to put even more restrictions on just wanting to get to the goal of building a dynasty with the wing T. I think that would also add some little added incentive if I have a great receiver too. To even be like, no, you still can't even throw it 30 times to Calvin Johnson, which, granted, our quarterback's scenario, it's not looking great. Obviously, what happened to this Detroit Lions team in real life? Winless year, 0-16. They get the first pick, and they pick Matthew Stafford. It's kind of, obviously, a lot of that's going to change, because, it's not like that's going to be the draft class or anything that we're going to use. So it's going to be completely different, a whole new Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, as a whole, at this point, we got a little graphic here. The last time they had 10 wins, 1995. Of course, before that, it took forever to get to a 10-win season. From 1995 to 2011, you had a 9-7 year to start off the decade 2000. Other than that, I mean, one of the probably the worst years, as an NFL team, like that whole decade of the 2000s for the Detroit Lions. When you have your 0-16 year, then the following year you go 2-14 and out the decade, and plus you got a couple of 3-win, games. I mean, it's just tough, 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 tough. But I wanted the challenge, and we got our little coach here. We're not going to be Max Marvelous, as we just created the name Don Tavis. Just I wanted something with a T in it, so it'd be close like the wing T. Old school type of coach, really MCDC before MCDC's even a coach type of thing. Just hard as nails. It's his way or the highway, and that's kind of another emphasis of it, having a wing T, is really having a coach that is not trying to come with the times to move with modern football. He's like, I'm going to run the wing T. I'm going to run the fuck out of the football. As it should be pretty exciting to really build this team into something completely new, just a whole new molded clay. So with this series, wanting it to be different like the last one too, we're going to start, as we'll just go ahead and scroll down, we're actually going to start in the off-season. So we're going to start with the off-season, which is going to, that'll be more of episode 2, but for this first episode, I wanted to lay down the foundation, kind of what we're thinking. I believe, off the top of my head, I should have had this written down in the notes, but off the top of my head, I want to say the Lions had like the 9th pick in this draft. It was the 8th or 9th pick. So not a great spot, but I think we could work with it. Obviously, with the goal in mind of having a wing T offense, there's a lot of great running backs in this draft class. You got McFadden, you got Felix Jones, you got Chris Johnson, Rashad Mendenhall. You could even go with Ray Rice, if you want to go that route. Even somebody like Peyton Hillis as like a kind of a day 2, so like a 4th rounder. Peyton Hillis would be a pretty fun selection. But there's a lot of great. Obviously, with this draft, you kind of know who's going to be good and who's going to not be good. Obviously, with knowing how real life works. I think there's a couple of guys that are actually not going to be as great as they end up being. That's a good example of that is Jordy Nelson. He doesn't really become what Jordy Nelson becomes. In real life, he's just kind of stuck at like mid-70s. He's just kind of a dude. Same thing with like Aaron Rodgers. That draft. The Packers end up drafting Bram Borman, who Bram in this not Bram, Brian Borman. Brian Borman is someone who actually potentially has very, very high potential. It's like in the 90s, something like that. And obviously we know it becomes Aaron Rodgers' team, and he keeps that until 2021 at least, or until the foreseeable future, unless by the time this gets uploaded, he might actually get traded, who knows. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where we're at. Interesting kind of first episode, because really that was kind of the big talking point. Obviously, there's 8 minutes left, so we are going to load up the off-season. Here, Don Davis, there it is. Says our wing T, we got the 3-3-5, our overall skills, and our 13, our special skills. The special skills I went for was game film analysis and both the playbooking skills. I just feel like that's the best way to go about it when you're a young coach. You might as well get those out of the way, because you're already going to suck, so you might as well just start off on the right foot. Oh, wait, no, we got 18 days till free agency. There's some pretty big free agencies as far as, like, the free agents that are out there. There are some pretty big ones. So we might sign them or whatnot, but really for this first episode, we're going to showcase what our roster's looking like and what our draft situation is looking like, because I want to say we're the 15th pick. Oh, fuck. All right, so I was thinking it was like a top pick, but it's not. But there's still a lot of great, we got 2/3, and that's it. Or at least we have a pick everywhere else. But, 15th, we'll look to maybe try and trade some people to get some more draft picks. Obviously, having the more draft picks, the better, especially in this draft where you kind of know everybody. It's probably the best time to do it. But for our roster, what we got? So we got John Kitna at quarterback. $10 million of, splitting that in 2 years. You got a $2.8 million of cap. We can try and trade John Kitna, but it's going to be tough as hell, as we don't want to have Darren Orlovsky out there, or Drew Stanton. fucking Drew Stanton as our running backs. This is what's going to be huge. We need better running backs. You know, with the wing T, that's the focal point. That is the height of the offense. So we're going to want to get better running backs, you know, and that's going to be our number one priority, to be honest. As fullbacks, we got 2 fullbacks. Obviously, one of them's not going to make it. So Roy Williams and Calvin Johnson. Obviously, we know what becomes of Roy Williams and Calvin Johnson. 5 years, 66 million. Obviously, just this 1 year in, it's fucking Megatron. And again, I forgot Roy Williams was actually rated really high in this game. And that's another, like, incentive. We got not only 1 great receiver, but 2. And we're just going to be like, yep, we're going to run the football with the wing T. Fucking MCDC himself, Dan Campbell. And, yeah, we'll probably have better tight ends. That's definitely a thing to address. Our O-line situation's actually pretty good on the left side. You know, we got 3 pretty good right tackles. But we might have to, obviously, move stuff around. In situation, not bad. Obviously, running a 3-3-5 should be pretty. We need kind of just athletes all around. Our linebacking core is pretty shit besides Ernie Sims. So that's something we need to address too. We have a lot of holes to address. Not like the Cleveland Browns, but we're setting pretty nicely, and we're able to kind of do whatever. We got an actual team that needs to be fixed, and as you see there, our corner situation, we only got 1 guy, and that's not good. Yeah, we'll need more corners. I mean, our safeties, it could be worse. You know, it's not great, but it's not terrible. But, you know, as far as a whole, and Jason Hanson there, and our punter, who we got for the next 5 years, the biggest thing we're going to want to do is getting assets. We need assets. That is the big thing to get. As, you know, the more assets we can get, the more trades we can make happen, the more guys we get. It's a whole thing. As far as our cap, that was one other thing I wanted to look at. Our cap situation. We got money to spend, so that's huge. You know, we need that. We got $51 million and roughly $51 million to spend on this offseason. So that's a great spot to be in. Obviously, with I'm not wanting to trade up per se. You know, I'm pretty content being at the 15th spot, to be honest. I'm just wanting more and more picks. You know, we might, you know, end up trading one of these. And it's kind of funny when you're looking at just the draft preview. They had Matt Ryan as the most overrated guy. But when you kind of look at this draft as a whole, it's actually a really good draft in the grand scheme of things, and the game is pretty close to being on brand. There's a couple of guys that are like, wow, they actually, you know, nailed it. Vernon Golston was pretty much an overrated player for the Jets. You know, Stelz was usually for a long time during that era was just a safety who was just unathletic and really couldn't get anything. That was a hard-hitting safety, though. Corners, I mean, it really was a great corner draft class, so that's huge. We need corners, so that's going to be awesome for us. And you know, the running back class, even though it says it's a 3-strength running back, class, there's some great backs in it. You know, you have Jamal Charles, you have Ray Rice, Jonathan Stewart, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, Rashad Mendenhall. There's so many like really good backs in that class. And that receiver class, definitely was a bit of a reach as far as thinking it's a strength of 5. And so, when you're thinking again at the grand scheme of things, obviously hindsight being 2020, knowing what you could see in the future. Also, Curtis Lofton is actually a really great player. Just kind of funny how he's listed on the overrated section. But for the second episode, just to kind of get an outline of what you're going to expect for that. We're not going to make this a full-on playthrough like we did the last series. I want to cut down a lot of stuff and really just showcase really the game of it all. Not really the ins and outs of everything. I will probably show who we signed in free agency and kind of, other than that, this off-season episode is not going to be long at all, because the big thing is the draft. That's the biggest thing we want to care about, and that's the biggest thing that I want to have our focus on is the draft. Draft's everything, and you want to be able to hit and want to make sure that you're in a good spot to where you can get great players, because it can really set you up in the future. And we have the spot to do it. We're the Detroit Lions with the 15th pick, so we're basically right smack dab in the middle. There's not going to be a lot of, I was hoping for Keith Rivers, to be honest. I think Keith Rivers would have been a great guy to kind of steal, because you just know how awesome he is. But we might end up taking a running back in our first pick. I really wasn't hoping we would do that, but we just might. We have a lot of different options to go with. We have a lot of holes to fill, so we're just looking to get some great players and to end up going, because the NFC North right now, it's pretty much wide open. It doesn't turn into that way, thanks to Aaron Rodgers becoming an absolute savage, but, the Bears, you see how they do from the Cleveland Browns series. They have no quarterback whatsoever. Their quarterback play is horrendous. The Vikings are alright. They're not great, but they're not fantastic. And the Packers, another team that's kind of not great. But, we might be able to sneak into the playoffs. If we draft really, really well and we make some great free agency signings, I think we'll be setting up to maybe just win the division. We just might get lucky enough. Obviously, we got to be careful about our injuries, careful with our wing T kind of style and strategy of our offense. We got to make sure that we're not fumbling the ball, that John Kitna isn't throwing 20 picks, a season. We just got to make sure that we can get also just the kind of, if we're going to throw it to Calvin Johnson or Roy Williams, it's in a scenario where it makes sense and it's not like we're getting completely away from the wing T. At the end of the day, that's what we want to be. We want to be a wing T offense, so we got to stay true to that. Creative plays, I'm going to only allow creative plays out of the wing T playbook. That's all I'm going to do. We're not going to add the Wildcat, as much as I would love that, just because it would not fit with what we're doing. So it just kind of sucks we won't be able to use the goddamn Wildcat, because it was awesome, especially with John Broussard running it. It was awesome for us with the Cleveland Browns, but we'll see how this Detroit Lions go. Can we turn around the Detroit Lions? Can we get this city a championship? God damn it. I think we can. We're going to do this for Calvin Johnson. We had our guy we're wanting to get the ring for the Brown series with Joe Thomas. We got the same thing here with Calvin Johnson. I want to get that motherfucker a championship. It's probably, arguably the greatest receiver of all time. Unreal talent. Unreal size. Just the athletic god is Calvin Johnson. And it's just kind of funny. We're going to try to give him a championship when we're pretty much going to harness his entire legacy by not throwing the ball so much. So it's pretty great. It's pretty quite ironic. As we'll catch you guys next time for what will be the off-season episode and the draft episode. Take care, everyone.